Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's video I'd like to look at how the US E-minis unfolded yesterday, which was Thursday at 9th of July. In particular, I'd like to look at these TS1 cells on the 3-minute chart of the ES, and also a similar one unfolded on the YM as well. Now normally what we do is we look to the 15-minute chart to see of our larger degree trend, and on our 15-minute chart it was quite hard to get decent resistance, particularly at this high, because the market had gapped up way beyond this particular DP level. And this is on the day session chart, which is 9:30 to 14:15. So initially it looked like it was a gap up, outside gap up, and the market was a bit strong. If we come back to the 3-minute chart, let's now look at how this the market looks in relation to yesterday's range. So if I take that 15-minute DP off, let's look at the high-low close from yesterday, and you can see that these are the levels from the day, or I should say the day before, and in particular this orange zone here was what we call our ATRs, the average true range for we use the last 14 days. Now the point of interest yesterday was that the market, when it gapped up, it gapped right into this ATR high here. Now the ATR is the average range that the market tends to move on average each day. So the point being is that this gap up had moved pretty much all the move that we're anticipating before the market had actually opened. So in other words, I'm not saying it's necessarily an area where a high is likely, but the potential upside from here is limited. So that's why I was looking at this for a potential logical high and then an area to sell. Now normally I like to trade the picture perfect trade setups, so I thought I'd go and have a look at the 24-hour chart. I don't tend to look at these charts all the time, but let's have a look at the 24-hour chart just to see if we can get any slightly clearer picture as well. This is a 15-minute chart of the 24-hour session times of the ES. It's interesting enough, we can see that the previous low the previous day here came in right at our decision point support, which is very nice, but I was more interested in our high coming in at this particular level here. You can see this is where the day session pretty much started, which was 9:45. You can see that there's the low volume overnight, and here's our high volume doing what we call the day session. So what I did was went back to the prior significant high, which was here. Let's right mouse click, place our DP on, and lo and behold, look where yesterday's high, yesterday being the 9th of July, look where yesterday's high came in, right smack bang at our DP resistance, absolutely perfectly. So even though we didn't get a high on our 15-minute chart of our day session only chart, on our 15-minute chart of our 24-hour chart, the high came in absolutely perfectly. If we now go down to the 3-minute chart on this 24-hour chart, you can see this even better. Look at this. There's the 15-minute DP resistance coming in right at the high of the day yesterday. So therefore this makes this a lot easier trade to justify, because we're now at an important high. In other words, this would define this as a good starting point in my isolation approach to Elliott wave. So this is an important high. This would be the initial decline down. This would be the initial correction up. If we right mouse click, place our analysis on, this TS1 cell would be a wave 2. It would be a wave 2 because it's subdivided into a minor ABC as the initial correction after the initial move from an important high. Therefore the decline we'll be anticipating is into the typical wave 3 WPT, which is down here. And as you see, the market actually went down to there just absolutely perfectly before making a low just before the normal day session closed. You can see that's at 16. Hit the low there at 16:06, so that's just 4:05, just before the day session closed. If we now drag the risk reward down to that level there, you can see this was a lovely potential 8-hour profit. Do you see that? 8-hour profit. So this is why I like the Holy Grail trade setups, is because their initial risks are small, because we're catching the end of the wave 2 or the start of the wave 3. The wave 3 is the strongest and longest move in a completed 5-wave sequence, therefore it represents the largest potential profit for the smallest initial risk. This is why I've nicknamed it the Holy Grail trade setup. Remember, we use our correct position sizing to keep our initial risks small and under control. If we look at the YM wasn't quite so clean as the ES, because if I look at the 15-minute chart on the day session only, just like the ES, we'd gapped way beyond our decision point. Just like the ES, we were up to the ATR as well. However, if I look at the I'll just do the 24-hour chart of the YM just to show you that we're actually a little bit beyond its DP resistance. I'm just drawing or loading the 15-minute chart YM, and if I now put the session breaks on, you can see that this was the high of the day yesterday, 9th of July. And if we go back to the same DP level that I used on the ES, can you see how the YM was just beyond it? In other words, we were beyond the DP. Yes, it did snap back into it, but can you see how, if I draw the 15-minute chart here, how it's a lot cleaner picture? Can you see how that looked a lot nicer and cleaner and more ideal, because the high unfolded right at our DP resistance, whereas on the YM it was just a little bit beyond and then snapped back. So that's why out of the two markets, I think the ES was a slightly better picture, even though if we actually then traded the YM did exactly the same as the ES. In other words, it actually did its Holy Grail sell setup here. And if I do the analysis down to its typical wave 3 WPT, which it did just before close, the profit would have been slightly larger at 9R. I think that the ES was a slightly clearer picture. So that's why I'm suggesting that the ES was a better one to take, because the 15-minute DP was actually a bit clearer on the 24-hour session. So hopefully this has been a good example to show you how to put lots of other things in place when you're trying to build your case for a trade setup. In other words, if you're looking at the day session, which is what we normally do, which is from 9:30 to, I'll just draw this chart, sorry, which is from 9:30 to 16:15, in other words 4:15. If you're looking to trade just the day session only chart and you don't have any logical resistance or support and resistance, then have a look at the 24-hour chart as well, particularly when you get a case like we had yesterday where the market gapped up. It gapped up pretty much into the ATR range, so you knew that most of the work would be done overnight. Therefore, the upside potential was probably less, so a decline was more likely. If that then happens and there's no 15-minute resistance on the day session only chart, just sneak over to the 24-hour session, and if you then get a really clear picture like we've seen here on the 24-hour chart, well then you can use that for logical resistance, and as such then that made this a picture perfect Holy Grail trade setup where we had major high, start of the sequence, that would be wave 1, that would be wave 2, this would then be wave 3 coming down here for a nice 8.1R profit. So a very, very good trade there. And a good example of how to use different tools combining together with a bit of common sense and a bit of education to then be able to use the tools in the MTPredictor software program to uncover some great trades like this. These are the kind of trades that I like you guys to find, and MTPredictor is capable of finding, because if you have trades where the profits are much, much larger than the initial risks, it's by far the best way to make your trades. In fact, this has been the second or maybe even third really good trade this week based around the Holy Grail trades setup. So a good day for MTPredictor yesterday, particularly when you combine the day session chart with the 24-hour chart, particularly on the ES.